The HTC One is a touchscreen-based Android smartphone designed, developed, and manufactured by HTC. The smartphone was unveiled on 19 February 2013, at press events in New York City and London, and is HTC One registered trademark S7th flagship smartphone. It is the successor to the companion One registered trademark S2012 flagship model, the One Euro, which was critically acclaimed, but commercially unsuccessful due in part to insufficient marketing efforts. To make the device stand out among its competition, the HTC One was developed with a major emphasis on unique hardware and software features, which included an unibody aluminum frame, a 1080p Full HD display, dual front-facing stereo speakers, a camera with a custom image sensor and the ability to automatically generate montages of media, an updated version of HTC One registered trademark S-Sense user experience, BlinkFeed an aggregator of news and social network content, and an electronic program guide app with the ability to serve as a universal remote via an IR blaster located in the device One registered trademark S power button. Beginning in March 2013, the HTC One was made available to mobile operators and major retailers in at least 181 countries. Manufacturing delays led to a staggered release beginning in late March, with its release date in certain markets pushed to late April. Nevertheless, with around 5 million units being sold during its first 2 months of worldwide availability, HTC stated that the One was the most successful launch in the companion One registered trademark S history. The HTC One was praised for the quality of its industrial design, high-density 468 ppi display, and high-power 2.6 WRMS stereo sound system, and was well received for its overall performance and improved user experience in comparison to earlier HTC devices. However, some aspects of the device, such as its photo quality, battery life, and certain elements of the device's operating system, was subject to scrutiny by critics. The device has received numerous awards and accolades, including being named Best New Mobile Device by the GSM Association at Mobile World Congress 2013, and was named the Best Smartphone of 2013 at the same conference 1 year later. It was succeeded by the HTC One on March 25, 2014. History, development. Although HTC has developed several notable Android devices, such as the Dreama Euro, the first publicly released Android device, it failed to capitalize on the first-mover advantage, and has struggled financially in recent years due to the increasing market share captured by other vendors such as Samsung and Apple. In some markets, HTC released numerous carrier-specific phones and relied heavily on wireless providers to promote its products, a strategy that was unsuccessful in the face of Samsung and Apple One registered trademark S strong marketing efforts. The companion One registered trademark S flagship phone in 2012, the One X, received critical acclaim from reviewers, but was commercially unsuccessful in the wake of the Galaxy S3 and the iPhone 5. In response, the company planned to take bigger risks with their next flagship device to make it stand out among its competitors, and also planned to take a more direct role in promoting its products, doubling its marketing budget for 2013. Details of the new device, codenamed M7, were leaked from various sources in the weeks prior to its official unveiling. HTC One registered trademark S CEO Peter Chu officially confirmed and briefly revealed a prototype for the new device during a company event on February 1, 2013. Leaked information speculated that the M7 would include a 1080p display, a quad-core processor, a redesigned version of HTC One registered trademark S-Sense software, and carry design traits from the Butterfly. The M7 was officially unveiled under the HTC One product line at a special launch event on February 19, 2013, in New York City and London. HTC originally announced that the HTC One would be released worldwide in March 2013 through 185 carriers and retailers in 80 countries, making it the largest global launch in the companion S history. Release: HTC initially announced that the One would be released in the United Kingdom on March 15. However, due to high demand and supply issues, HTC announced on March 22 that the device would roll out in the UK, Germany and Taiwan next week and across Europe, North America and most of Asia Pacific before the end of April. In the United Kingdom, online pre-orders were shipped by some carriers around the time of HTC One registered trademark S announcement. In late April 2013, the HTC One was released across major carriers in the United States and Australia, and a network-unlocked 32GB version also became available on the HTC Web Store. In the US, the 64GB HTC One is exclusively sold by AT&T. Following the delays, HTC North Asia One registered trademark S President Jack Tong announced that the company would double its production capacity for the device by mid-May to meet growing demand and competition for the device, and to make up for sales lost by the release delays. On August 22, 2013, 4 months after it was released by its competitors, Verizon Wireless became the final major carrier to release the HTC One in the United States. Alongside its stock silver model, the HTC One has been offered in 3 additional color finishes: black, red, and blue. Color variants are exclusive to certain carriers and retailers. In Australia, the black variant is exclusive to Telstra, while the red variant has been exclusive to Phones 4U in the UK and Sprint in the US. The blue variant is exclusive to Carphone Warehouse in the UK and Best Buy in the US. A champagne-colored HTC One was released on select European carriers in late November 2013. A special variant electroplated in 18-karat gold was unveiled by HTC in October 2013 as part of a collaboration with the Music of Black Origin Awards. 5 models were produced in a limited production run in partnership with Goldini. Out of the 5, 1 model was given to the winner of the Best Newcomer category at the ceremony in Glasgow on October 19, and another was given away in a promotional event. Discussing the partnership, HTC One registered trademark SEMEA President Phil Blair explained that the best artists have always been given gold discs to celebrate their success, but today most people listen to music on their phone. We wanted to celebrate that fact. Valued at $4,442, the gold HTC One is the most expensive product produced in company history. Litigation: in April 2013, Nokia was granted a preliminary injunction in the Netherlands against Microelectronics, which had supplied HTC with microphone components for the device that contained Nokia One registered trademark S proprietary technology. Despite the injunction being against STM, Nokia still used the injunction to publicly accuse HTC of copying technology from its products. HTC would still be able to use the remaining microphones it acquired in good faith. The offending component was replaced with an alternative version in future production runs. In December 2013, the HTC One Mini was banned from sale in the United Kingdom as the result of another patent infringement lawsuit by Nokia. While the HTC One was also affected by the ruling, its sales ban was stayed by the court pending an appeal. The judge indicated that banning HTC One sales would have a negative effect on the company. The case also inadvertently revealed that HTC was planning to launch a successor to the HTC One in early 2014. Features: design. The HTC One uses a unibody aluminum frame sourced from custom-grade aluminum. The choice of material was intended to give the device a solid, premium feel in comparison to smartphones made with a plastic shell. The frame is etched with channels in which the polycarbonate is inset using zero-gap injection molding. The polycarbonate forms a band around the edge of the device, covers the top and bottom ends, and bisects the back with 2 lines, one of which flows around the camera below. The 2 polycarbonate bands across the back are used to insulate its antennas, while the ring around the camera is used as a loop antenna for the One's near-field communication functionality. Alongside its display are 2 aluminum end pieces with a tight grid of laser-cut holes forming the speaker grills behind which sit 2 stereo sound speakers. The metal volume keys are smoothly inlaid on the left side of the frame. The unibody frame itself takes at least 200 minutes of precision CNC cutting to machine, and the final result is a solid slate of anodized aluminum, white polycarbonate, and tempered glass with chamfered, polished edges. Two capacitive navigation keys, back and home, are located below the display, flanked by HTC's logo in the center. While other recent HTC devices used a 3-key layout with back, home, and recent apps keys, HTC designers believed that using only 2 navigation keys as opposed to 3 would reduce user confusion. As with other HTC devices lacking a hardware menu key, apps that have not been updated to reflect the newer guidelines display a menu button on a black bar on the bottom of the screen. Hardware: the HTC One uses a 4.7-inch, 1080p Super LCD 3 touchscreen display with a pixel density of 468 ppi. The backside of the device houses the camera, the LED flash, and the secondary microphone. At the top of the device is a 0.14-inch headphone jack and the power lock key, which also functions as an infrared blaster. At the bottom is the primary microphone and a micro USB port for both data connections and charging. The device can stream HDMI via the micro USB port using MHL 2.0. The device incorporates a 1.7 GHz quad-core Snapdragon 600, an ARM v7 SoC, with 2 GB of RAM. The chip provides support for LTE networks where they are available. Most HTC One models come with either 32 or 64 GB of internal, non-expandable storage. Unlike the international model, the Chinese and Japanese models include a micro SD slot and a removable back cover. Its internal components are arranged in a pyramid-like layout similar to the HTC Butterfly and HTC Windows Phone 8X, with larger components positioned towards the front and smaller components positioned towards the back. This internal layout also allows the device to have a curved backing. The ONIA unregistered trademark S audio system incorporates 2 front-facing boom sound stereo speakers, Beats audio software equalizer, and HDR audio recording. The boom sound stereo system is controlled by 2 5-volt NXP-TFA9887 integrated circuits combining NXP unregistered trademark S-Cool Flux Audio DSP, a Class D amplifier with current sensing, and a DC-to-DC converter to boost the output level of micro speakers up to 5 times without damaging the driver. Camera: the HTC One is equipped with a 4.0-megapixel rear-facing camera module that contains a custom image sensor marketed as UltraPixel, which is composed of pixels that are 2.0 AA micrometer in size. Most high-end smartphones at the time of its release used 8 or 13-megapixel cameras with pixel sizes ranging from 1.4 to 1.0 AA micrometer, both of which are considerably smaller in size than the pixels found in the ONIA unregistered trademark S UltraPixel sensor. Although these smaller pixel sizes were typically necessary to ensure that the camera's sensor did not compromise the design of the phone, there were concerns that this could result in a loss of dynamic range and sensitivity, and also result in poor performance in low-light environments. As such, HTC stated that its camera design with larger sensor pixels could notably increase overall image quality, especially in low-light environments. The camera also includes optical image stabilization, and is further enhanced by improvements to the Sense camera software and the Image Chip 2 image processor. In September 2013, HTC confirmed isolated reports of users experiencing a purple or red tint with the camera in low-light conditions. The company stated that it had been working to correct these issues, and would release a fix in a later software update. Operating system and software. The HTC One is powered by Android, a Linux-based, open-source operating system developed by Google. Among other features, the software allows users to maintain customized home screens which can contain shortcuts to applications and widgets for displaying information. 4 shortcuts to frequently used applications can be stored on a dock at the bottom of the screen. The button in the center of the dock opens the application drawer, which displays a menu containing all of the applications installed on the device. A notifications tray accessible by pulling from the top of the screen allows users to view notifications received from other apps, as well as enable the ONIA unregistered trademark S Power Saver mode. Preloaded applications on the HTC One provide access to Google unregistered trademark's various services, including Google Play, which can be used to download and purchase apps, music, movies, and e-books. Other pre-installed apps on the HTC One include a browser with Adobe Flash support, Calendar, Contacts, Dropbox, Facebook, FM radio, Google Chrome for Android, Kid Mode, Music, Notes, Polaris Office, SoundHound, Tasks, TuneIn Radio, and Weather. The Recent Apps menu, which displays 9 recently opened apps on a grid of thumbnails, is accessed by double-tapping the Home key, while Google Search is accessed by long pressing the key. As with previous devices in its series, and adhering to its official deprecation in Android 3.0, the HTC One does not include a menu button. By default, apps which are not specifically built for Android 3.0 or later display a virtual menu key on a black bar at the bottom of the screen. This black bar is removable in Android 4.2.2 and later if users choose to enable the menu key functionality by long pressing the Home key. The HTC One shipped with Android 4.1.2 Jelly Bean, and version 5.0 of HTC unregistered trademark's proprietary Sense software suite. In comparison to previous versions of the software, Sense 5 uses a flat, minimalist visual style with refreshed icons and the condensed variant of the Roboto font family. Instead of a traditional home screen display with apps and widgets, Sense 5 defaults to a screen known as BlinkFeed, a news aggregator which displays a scrolling grid of news headlines from selected sources and social network content in a similar fashion to Flipboard and Windows Veneer unregistered trademark's live tiles. New content is synchronized every 2 hours when connected to a mobile network, but more frequently while on Wi-Fi. Directly above the BlinkFeed display is a clock which displays the user unregistered trademark's local time and weather forecast. The signature flip clock widget seen on previous HTC devices was replaced by a simpler digital clock for Sense 5. Hundreds of different clock designs by HTC unregistered trademark's designers, narrowed down to 25, were considered before the final design was chosen. As with previous versions of Sense, users can still add or remove pages on the home screen for housing app shortcuts and widgets. One such page is provided by default, and which page to display by default can be set by the user. However, BlinkFeed will always occupy the leftmost page of the home screen. The application drawer uses a 3x4 grid to display application shortcuts by default, but can still be changed back to the denser 4x5 grid used by past versions. Apps can also be sorted into folders within the drawer. A number of preset folders are provided, such as Google, Media, Productivity, Tools, and preloaded apps provided by the user unregistered trademark's wireless carrier, where applicable. The camera app includes a new shooting mode known as Zoe, which captures a short video alongside each photo taken. Individual frames can be saved from the clip, while the frames can also be used with other editing features such as sequence shot. Photos taken in Zoe mode are also displayed with animated thumbnails in the gallery. The Highlights feature can automatically generate a montage video from photos and videos with multiple theme and soundtrack options. The resulting video can be exported, or posted online through the HTC Share service. A television guide app is also provided, which incorporates remote control functionality via an infrared blaster hidden in the unregistered trademark's power button, show recommendations powered by Peel, and the ability to display show reminders as stories on BlinkFeed. An updated music app now includes a visualizer and support for on-screen lyrics. An updated version of the Get Started feature allows users to perform initial setup for their One via a web-based service, while a new sync manager allows data to be migrated from iOS device backups or HTC devices with Android 4.0 and higher. As with all devices in the One series, 25 GB of Dropbox storage is available free for 2 years. Using NFC, the One can also share content between other compatible Android devices with Android Beam, and conduct mobile payments where compatible systems are available. Software revisions. In July 2013, HTC began rolling out an upgrade to Android 4.2.2 in selected regions. Alongside internal changes, it added a quick settings panel to the notification area, Instagram support for BlinkFeed, autofocus auto-exposure lock to the camera, additional highlights themes, and optimized how those are saved. The upgrade also added the ability to show the current battery percentage on the status bar, more consistent behavior for the home key, allows the removal of icons from the home screen. Unregistered trademark S-Dock, allows the home key to serve as the deprecated menu key in certain apps by long pressing, allows Google Now to be accessed by swiping up from the home button, and adds support for displaying widgets on the lock screen. In North America, Android 4.2.2 was only available as the preloaded software on Verizon Wireless HTC One, since HTC considered 4.2 to be relatively minor on smartphones. Instead, North American models were to be upgraded directly to Android 4.3, which was scheduled for a release in late September 2013. HTC had previously released the Android 4.3 upgrade for the Google Play Edition in early August 2013. On September 25, 2013, HTC began rolling out the upgrade, starting with unlocked models. Alongside the internal changes introduced by Android 4.3, the update adds the ability to use custom soundtracks on highlights videos, and also corrects the low-light camera issues introduced by the 4.2.2 upgrade. In late October 2013, HTC released Sense 5.5 for the HTC One, a software revision which adds RSS and Google Plus support to BlinkFeed, allows users to disable BlinkFeed entirely, adds a tool for making animated GIFs, and additional highlights themes. Shortly after its unveiling on October 31, 2013, HTC confirmed an upcoming release of Android 4.4.2 for all HTC One models, beginning with the Google Play version, and for Sense-equipped models in January 2014. For 4.4, HTC introduced a web page that allows users to track the development and release process of Android upgrade for its products, and aimed to release the 4.4 upgrade for the HTC One within 90 days of the release of its source code. An update to HTC Sense 6.0, as introduced on the HTC One, was released in May 2014. The update introduces a refreshed interface with updated versions of stock apps such as BlinkFeed, customizable color themes and fonts, along with a new extreme power-saving mode, which caps CPU usage and disables non-essential applications, multitasking services, and sensors to conserve battery life when running low. The mode only allows access to the phone, messaging, email, calendar, and calculator apps. Following its unveiling, HTC committed to preparing updates to Android L for the One within 90 days of receiving final software from Google. Model variants. Several hardware and software variants of the HTC One were released in selected regions in 32GB and 64GB models. The HTC One 801E was released in Taiwan. The HTC One 801S was released in Australia, Hong Kong, and Singapore. The HTC One 801N was released in Europe, the Middle East and Africa. The HTC One 801N LTE versions, Verizon HTC One HTC 6500 LVW LTE version, and Sprint HTC One LTE version were released in North America only in 32GB models. HTC J1 HTL22 was released in Japan, and HTC TD101 802WT in mainland China. A Developer Edition and Google Play Edition were also released in the United States in 32GB and 64GB models. Developer Edition. A Developer Edition of the 64GB HTC One was released in limited quantities in the United States, exclusively from HTC unregistered trademark S website on April 19, 2013. This variant ships with an unlocked bootloader, which can be used for the development and installation of custom ROMs. The Developer Edition is also unlocked for use on GSM networks and the LTE networks of T-Mobile and AT&T. However, it does not support T-Mobile Euro unregistered trademark SAWS-based HSPA Plus network. Google Play Edition. On May 30, 2013, HTC announced that Google Play would sell a variant of the HTC One with a stock Android operating system as a Google Experience device. It was released in the United States on June 26, 2013 alongside a similar version of the Galaxy S4. While still carrying Beats audio support, infrared functionality was not initially available, but was enabled by the update to Android 4.3. Chinese variant. HTC One variants were unveiled for release in China in late April 2013 with HTC TD101802W for China Unicom, HTC TD101802D for China Telecom, and HTC TD101802T for China Mobile. Unlike the international version, the Chinese models feature a removable back cover, exposing a microSD slot for storage expansion and dual SIM card slots. Complementing this feature, a special edition with a Wang Liam autographed back cover was also released. HTC stated that it was able to include an SD card slot in the Chinese model because its radio hardware did not take up as much internal space as that of the international models. Japanese variant. An HTC One variant known as HTC J1 or 1J was announced for Japanese carrier or by KDDI in May 2013. J1 is similar to the Chinese versions, and includes support for the NFC-based payment system Felica. Reception. Critical reception. The HTC One was released to favorable reviews. At the 2013 Mobile World Congress, it won the Best New Mobile Device Award from the GSM Association, and received Tech Radar Euro unregistered trademark S Best Phone, and Best in Show awards. Following its release, HTC One also received an Editora Euro unregistered trademark S Choice Gold Award from Anand Tech. In August 2013, the HTC One was awarded Best European Advanced Smartphone 2013 Euro 2014 by the European Imaging and Sound Association, and at the T3 Gadget Awards 2013, the HTC One won Gadget of the Year, Phone of the Year, and the T3 Design Award. At Mobile World Congress 2014, it was named the Best Smartphone of 2013 during the Global Mobile Awards. Walt Mossberg of The Wall Street Journal favored the One over its closest rival, Samsung's Galaxy S4, considering the One to be more polished-looking, and quite capable in comparison. In a later review conducted 4 months later in August 2013, Boy Genius reporter Euro unregistered trademark Zach Epstein also favored the One over the Galaxy S4, stating that among the Galaxy S4, Moto X, and the rest of the Android phones on the market right now, the HTC One is in a class by itself. Epstein cited differences in hardware construction and industrial design, as well as various features of Sense 5.0. One example included the higher quality IR Blaster and TV app on the One compared to the S4. The New York Times technology columnist David Pogue praised the attention to detail in its design, along with its performance, camera, and display quality, and considered it to be the most beautiful Android phone Euro unregistered trademark they ever seen. However, Pogue criticized HTC Euro unregistered trademark's continuing usage on the Sense user interface, the arrangement of its physical navigation keys, the inability for users to expand its storage or replace its battery, and its typical, one-day 4G LTE Android battery life. In conclusion, Pogue stated that you could quibble with the software overlays, but it would be hard to imagine a more impressive piece of phone hardware. The Verge gave the HTC One an 8.3 out of 10. Aside from the positioning of its power button and navigation keys, which were considered to be hard to reach, its hardware design was praised for having a totally unique and somehow still understated look, while its 1080p display was considered to be one of the sharpest displays on a smartphone although not bright enough to be seen properly in direct sunlight. In combination with its stereo speakers, the One was considered a good phone for viewing videos and playing games, while its call quality was judged as being sufficient. In regards to performance, The HTC One was considered to be an impressively powerful phone across the board due to its high scores on various benchmark tests. Its camera received mixed reviews. While it had better low-light performance than its competitors as advertised, the Oneir Euro unregistered trademark S photos were criticized for looking soft and mushy due to extensive post-processing and only looked relatively good at the smaller sizes applied by services such as Facebook and Instagram. The Zoe features were considered unique and useful, but the HTC Share service was panned for being kind of like Vine, except that your clips only last a few months and no Oneir Euro unregistered trademark S ever going to use it. The One was also criticized for its decidedly average battery life, and for some of the unintuitive design changes that HTC made to the Android UI. Radar Euro unregistered trademark S Michael Callor praised the HTC Oneir Euro unregistered trademark S truly gorgeous and seamless design, and considered the quality of its internal speakers to be the best of any smartphone thus far. The display was considered to be sharp with faithful color reproduction, but too dim for use in bright sunlight. Its camera was panned for producing images that lacked the sharpness of its competitors, but the camera software itself was still noted for its advanced options and Zoe shooting mode. The HTC Oneir Euro unregistered trademark S user interface was considered cleaner and closer to the stock Android design than previous releases, while BlinkFeed was considered to be slick and useful, yet far from original. Some of HTC Euro unregistered trademark S changes to the Android UI were criticized, including its cramped on-screen keyboard, and its deviation from the common 3-key button layout used by other manufacturers. Callor also criticized HTC for shipping the phone with Android 4.1.2 when Android 4.2 had been released 3 months prior to its official announcement. These factors, along with unsatisfactory battery life experienced by Callor, prompted him to give the HTC One a rating of 7.0 out of 10. The Oneir Euro unregistered trademark S industrial design and camera were also praised by both Connect and PC Magazine. However, PC Magazine criticized the inability to properly perform digital cropping and zooming on images taken with the camera, along with the non-removable bloatware applications added by AT&T in its version. Connect panned BlinkFeed for its lack of content sources and for not being able to use custom sources or turn it off completely, but praised the updates to Sense and the TV app. Again, the bloatware added by Sprint and AT&T was criticized, but HTC Euro unregistered trademark S placement of carrier apps in their own separate folder in the application drawer was noted. Commercial reception. On May 23, 2013, The Wall Street Journal reported that sales of the HTC One had reached around 5 million since its launch in March. By comparison, the iPhone 5 sold 5 million units within its first 3 days of availability and the Galaxy S4 shipped 10 million units within its first month of availability. While not quoting any further numbers, Mark Woodward, president of HTC Euro unregistered trademark S North American division, considered the HTC Oneir Euro unregistered trademark S launch to have been the most successful in the Compania Euro unregistered trademark S history. In response to its success, HTC released 2 other HTC One branded devices throughout 2013 that extended traits and design elements from the device into other form factors, including the mid-range HTC One Mini, and HTC One Max phablet. See also, List of HTC devices, Comparison of Android devices, Comparison of smartphones, References. External links, HTC One official specifications, official website.